This video is sponsored by Toolpath.
Yeah, for a while, like when an engineer graduates and they get their first job, they go buy a fancy car. CJ bought a machine.
In manufacturing, growth has always meant one thing: more people, more operators, more hands. But in Southern California, where the labor is tight and space is even tighter, CJ made a different bet. Instead of hiring, he automated. That decision didn't just start a business, it changed how he scales. Today, he runs 6 machines by himself.
And I got an order for 3,000 pieces where I had to deliver 300 at a time. I had to figure out making a lot of parts just as one person.
So how is he doing it? And how did he decide what work to turn away and what work to double down on? Let's explore that here on Smarter Shop.
Hey, Al.
MC.
All right, good to see you. What are we doing?
When we think about smarter shops, there's 3 themes that we'll always see, and so I thought we'd look at that with CJ. A lot of innovation in how he's worked through, in his case with bars.
Okay.
How does he bar feed milled parts so he, as a person, touches the part less?
Al always seems to find shops doing something different, and today was no exception. And though I'm not a machinist, I am curious. So I came in with 3 questions. How does one person keep 6 machines running? What makes his process different? And how does he decide what work not to take?
Hey, CJ.
Hello.
MC?
Hey, CJ.
Nice to meet you. Al, good to see you again.
Good to see you again.
So how'd you get started? Where'd all this come from?
Well, I initially got into machining when I met Al. I was in high school in a shop program, and he brought some CAM software for us to use there. And that sparked my whole interest in the industry. I also went to go work for him at Autodesk for a period of time, and out of that, I wanted to start my own machine shop. So I bought one machine, and I started solving some problems for some customers, and that snowballed into something I had to figure out for making a lot of parts just as one person. And so I've tried different things, found some success, found some failures along the way.
Excellent. So can you show us what's
Yeah,
going on
let's
here?
go take a look.
That's great. Cool.
Is that a train right outside of CJ's shop? It is. It's that California vibe that really set the stage for us as we walk through his facility to see his machines.
All right, welcome to the shop.
Thank you.
Here's the machines, or at least a couple of them. I've had to slowly grow over time because I didn't realize what I was going to turn into. Just one machine I can fit in a very small space, but now I'm up to 6 machines and I'm figuring out where I'm going to go next.
And you've got 3 of these facilities, right?
That's right. So one of the early problems I had to solve was I had my VF2 and I got an order for 300 pieces. And that was large for what I was doing at the time. And I had to figure out how to start running my machine overnight. And I say 300 pieces, what I actually meant to say was 3,000 pieces where I had to deliver 300 at a time. So how do I go from running my VF2 attended to unattended? The easiest way was to palletize the parts. So I could fit all 300 on a pallet that was about a foot square. They're very small parts, fit on the tip of your finger. Now, I figured out how to do that with strips, where I'd run 20 parts on a strip. I could run that overnight, but after that run, I'd have to come back and flip them all over to do each strip one by one. For that set of 300 parts, it would maybe take me a couple of days. Not so bad, but it took a lot of my time. So I had to go find a way to run machines 24/7 unattended with as little touch as possible. And that led me into bar feeding.
Most people understand bar feeding on a lathe. You feed in round stock, turn it, cut it off. It's simple and easy to automate. But milling complex features from round bar, that's different. Now you're gripping, regripping, managing stability. That's where automation usually breaks down. CJ built a way around that.
For lathes, bar feeding is obvious. You put bars in a magazine and the machine will run for as long as you can keep loading bars. For round parts, it's obvious. For milled parts, it's a little less obvious.
Okay.
And so I had to first find a machine that was suitable for this sort of thing. Ultimately, I found Williman to be the machine that fit the bill for what I was doing. And it turned out to be a fantastic machine for adding the bar feeder. On this machine, I also have a robot for unloading. This machine has 2.3 million tool changes on it now, so you can kind of extrapolate how many parts I've made with it in the time that I've had it. And this machine was such a success for me and my customer that I have multiples of this particular machine now. I consistently run it 24 hours a day, but the longest I've ever gone unattended, like not touching the machine, is 192 hours. So that's just over a week. Well, these machines are traditionally used in the medical OEM industry and also like a Swiss watch making. In fact, Rolex has a lot of Willemans. I'm using it in a different industry that I'm going to be vague about, but it's worked well, and I am the first one to be using these machines in that industry.
Over time, CJ developed a process that works incredibly well for a specific kind of part. And that process doesn't just determine how he machines parts, it determines which jobs he accepts and which ones he turns away.
If the part can be made on a lathe, obviously I have to turn that away, despite the fact that I'm bar feeding. I'm looking for prismatic parts. I'm focusing on the milling side of manufacturing. But also that means that I have to choose parts that, one, I can fit into round bar, and then also grip. And so if the part doesn't lend itself to being gripped out of round bar once I make most of it, then I have to turn it away. Luckily, the industries that I'm operating in, most of them fit that bill.
So that's what you call one-piece flow, where he wants to machine the first setup, grip it, and a finished part comes out, right?
Yeah. That is actually a big step in the automation story for me, whereas on the VF2, I was making 300 parts at a time on a pallet. That has its own host of problems. When I switched to bar fed, I could do everything in one-piece flow. And instead of, if it takes 12 hours to machine a pallet, well, I can machine one part in 10 minutes, do all the fixes I need to do, and then run 10,000 pieces. So my setups became really short, despite the super long run times.
Long production runs solved one problem, but now CJ had a new one. How do you keep the machines running when you're the only ones responsible for them?
When you run a machine overnight, at least for the first time as an operator, you run into some issues. For example, where do the chips actually go? Where do they pack? When your coolant starts to evaporate, the water evaporates off the coolant, well, it gets low. How do you replenish that? So I started running into these issues that you don't find until you've left a machine alone for an extended period of time. And from that, I learned a couple of things. One, you have to set up the machine to be ready to go for 12 to 18 hours. Have water ready to go, make sure that the chips are cleared. On Haas machines, the basket, I had to make sure that the filter paper was cleared before I leave, or else I could start having coolant leaking over the side of the sump. I think these are things that a lot of machinists are familiar with. But if you're going to leave a machine unattended, it's like taking a ship on a voyage. You need everything up front before you leave.
You're ready. So then the job that you're talking about, where it moved to 3,000 parts, that's what then pushed you into the increase in automation?
Right. That's what actually forced me to think about running the machines for extended periods of time unattended.
And at the time, you had a day job where you'd travel for the week too, right?
Right. So it's how do I get myself away from the machine as much as possible, but still gain as much spindle time as I could?
All right.
So what do you think?
I mean, it's one guy, kind of like a Superman.
I call him Superman all the time.
It's pretty cool, pretty amazing. I mean, I think it just shows, again, Smarter Shop, the automation.
There was one piece that stood out for me. We're longtime friends, so I've seen details of his process.
Yes.
He didn't show everybody, but I think that's maybe one thing that's worth saying is the Smarter Shop builds a process. He built a process, and then he started to expand his process, but his core innovation is what his process is and what he's good at.
Right.
But that's just one set of parts. I think as each shop builds a process around a class of parts, all the shops can work together, and the innovative secret sauce is not how they work, but the process they built. And as we talk to each shop, there's a whole class of things they're saying no to, and the many shops together end up being able to make everything.
Which makes them a Smarter Shop.